Good morning. This is Michelle Love, and you are listening to Dynamic Change. And this show is here to provide some psychological insight into many of the challenges that we have in life. And you are listening to KPCA LP in Petaluma, a free range radio station. I am a certified wellness coach, self-defense instructor, fitness trainer, and I have a degree in psychology. And this show that I host is to facilitate more wellness in our lives, to look at ways we can develop new patterns, new emotional, behavioral ways of thinking, mindfulness patterns in our life, so we can let the old stuff go that makes us feel like we're struggling, right? So we can heal and release those blocks, and we can move forward and really live the most satisfying life that hopefully we can. Okay, so today I'm super excited. If you need more information on me, you can always go to my website. It's dynamicchange.wellness.com. dynamicchange.wellness.com. And you can see all the classes and everything that I provide for people in the wellness coaching. And also, I do upload these shows every week onto my YouTube station. It's called Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness. So today, I'm so excited. I'm going to talk about a really hot topic: freedom from the narcissist. So I have to say, I think most of us know a narcissist, and my little joke about the narcissist is everyone listening that knows a narcissist knows what I'm talking about, and the narcissists that are listening to the show are going to be thinking, well, they're talking about me. I'm not sure what they mean, but I don't like it. So that's my little joke. Anyway, I had to say that. But dealing with narcissists is really quite painful, and because they can be quite alluring. I don't want to say charming, but I think often we end up coming across these people in our lives, and it is really challenging to figure out how to handle them, how to not feel at the whim of their egocentric thinking and behavior. And often narcissists, if they are a really negative person, they could even be quite abusive. So I really want to talk about this and really want to give you some tools that can help you free yourself from any narcissist that you know, and so you are not being affected by that toxicity. Okay, so what I want to talk about is the way a narcissist gets to us is they are projecting that everything is our fault. So our issues of shame and guilt is what they're triggering. That's how they get to us, okay? Because we do not want to be affected by these people. It's draining, and there's no winning, and it's very difficult. You're not going to heal a narcissist. And I'm sorry that can be quite sad if you really care about someone that's narcissistic. Really being able to look at it realistically and thinking, well, do my needs ever get met in this situation? Is it, really about them to an extreme where you feel like they're narcissistic, that it just all revolves around them? So the narcissist, it's all about their, I'm going to say, emotional survival, but they have a really dysfunctional way of looking at what emotional survival is. So these people are very draining energetically. They don't know how to fill their own cup. When I've talked about energy, we have energy in our body. The scientists, have already gone there. So we don't have to be confused about that. We have energy in our bodies. It's part of our biological makeup, okay? And we can get drained by people that don't know how to fill up their own cup. So narcissists, I have found, are often looking for people they can drain. They want to drain you energetically. They want to feel in control. I think narcissists, deep down inside, feel out of control. They feel they are living from a basis deep down inside. It's hard to see because they can be so daunting to deal with, but they are very fear-based people. So these are people that don't know how to fill their own cup. They feel really bad about themselves, and they are looking for a way to feel powerful. Now, I don't want to, I really believe in having compassion, but I do not want to look at them as a victim, because they choose to abuse power and bully people often, not all the time. Not all narcissists, I think, are out to hurt people all the time, okay? But I'm going to talk about the ones that are today to an extent, because I want to give you, and we can work backwards from that, okay? I want to give you some tools to take care of yourself if you're in a dynamic with someone that's very narcissistic and it's really hurtful for you, okay? And then we'll work backwards, because there's variations of this kind of behavior disorder, okay? So if you're dealing with someone that's really hurtful, I find that they are looking to find power because they do not feel any power within themselves, but they do it in an abusive manner. Okay, so they're looking for energy, they're looking to project anything they can on everyone else so they don't have to look at themselves. So they're fearful of looking at themselves. They're fearful of facing their own demons. They're fearful of coming up wanting, okay? They really are. And dealing with narcissistic mean people is the worst. And I'm so sorry if you are dealing with this or have. I think many of us have really gone through this. But being able to see them clearly, and I'm going to show you some tools of how you can emotionally disengage from this pattern, okay? But let's really break it down, look at them clearly. So looking at them clearly, and you can, and I always suggest writing things down, because sometimes we are dealing with situations that we haven't quite been able to figure out exactly what the dynamic is. And my goal with this show is to make this so user-friendly and stimulate your creative thinking, your creative feeling, your creative spontaneity within your being, to want to shift things in your life so you are feeling inspired, you are feeling wellness, you are feeling creativity and passion for yourself and healing, okay? And I want to stimulate your mind with all these psychological insights and breaking things down for you, and I try to make it very just easy to access, and so we can very easily move forward. Okay, so I'm going to give you tools of how you can break it down. So I suggest writing. I think writing is helpful. Sometimes even talking to yourself in the car. I'm a big advocate for that one, because we all end up driving in the car, I think, for the most part. And you're by yourself, and just ignore the people that are sitting in the car next to you at the traffic light, or like, look at this lady talking to herself. Just ignore them. But I'm just saying it's a good time to just kind of feel free to verbalize with not a lot of having to deal with the witness and feeling self-conscious, and just kind of let yourself free talk a little bit and relax your body, and just pay attention to driving, but if you're having a simple drive, it's a good time to kind of just allow yourself to talk a little bit. I think often we can do that and still pay attention to our driving. Or you can do it at home, at the end of the night or at the beginning of the morning if you have some privacy. And also talking to a good friend. So I really think the narcissist, one of the ways they get over on us, right? Or they're able to ensnare us into their trap of their dynamic is that it's kind of secret. Like until you figure it out, you feel very attacked. Their energy really comes at you. So you're kind of like bombarded with this behavior, right? Sometimes extremely toxic. So it's really hard to find a way to block that, rush of bad behavior, toxicity. You kind of feel like you're drowning, or like it's really can be quite suffocating. So this is really dealing with a very, very toxic bully that thinks they have the right to behave however they want. So if we expose the bully, this reminds me a lot of certain kinds of abuses, domestic violence, certain kinds of abuses that are hidden and not talked about. It's the same kind of energy and dynamic. The narcissist, you can pop their kind of bubble of being able to act out easily the more you expose it. Okay? So what you want to do is, if you have someone you trust that is not a narcissist, that is compassionate, has an open heart, is a good friend, talk to them. Sometimes you got to talk to your brother, your sister, your partner, your dearest friend, and have a sounding board, but start talking about, I'm in this connection with this person. I feel upset all the time, and I feel like they are constantly telling me it's all my fault, all the time. It's just this projection of I can't win no matter what I'm doing. It's always me. Those are signs of dealing with a narcissist. It's always projected on you. And in doing that, keeping someone in a state of feeling sometimes scared. If they're really intense and toxic, it can really stimulate your fight or flight. It can also trigger past abuse. So if you grew up with someone really abusive, often there's guilt and shame. The kid inside us, our inner child, didn't know that it wasn't their fault, because it was not. But what can develop are these triggers of guilt and shame. So since we have imprinted on believing, oh, it must be me, on some level, and bought into the lies we grew up with, if there was abuse, then what happens is when you're dealing with the narcissist, it's really easy to be targeted by them, unfortunately, because we already have these triggers, these beliefs within us that we think, oh, I'm not, there's things wrong with me, okay? And there's nothing wrong. We all have stuff to heal, and we're all wonderful people, but we got to work on ourselves. And sometimes working on ourselves means being able to see yourself more clearly and realize that you're fantastic, but you got to learn how to protect yourself, right? And have really strong boundaries and be your own guardian. So when you're dealing with someone that is triggering some old wounds within you, we're going to talk about how to protect yourself, but first you got to identify them. So knowing yourself, you might want to think, okay, I grew up with certain dynamics that did produce a lot of guilt or a lot of shame due to some abuse patterns. And those are some triggers I want to heal. So you start realizing if you have that pattern within you that could be worked over, unfortunately, by a narcissist. So, think about that, and then kind of think about if there's someone that's really difficult in your life, that's really stressful, that really affects your well-being, and look at the dynamics of that, and are they projecting on you that it's always your fault? So you just have to look at these things. Doesn't mean all of us have to know a narcissist or be dealing with one, but this is how you start to kind of break it down, is mainly realizing you're dealing with someone where it is only your fault and they're regularly blaming you. They are maybe playing the victim a lot. That's another thing that could be going on with someone that's not like overtly abusive. They could see themselves as a victim to everything. And so say, you did this to me, you hurt my feelings when you do this. It's all you, right? It's always you. And so they're always the victim. So if you feel like you're in a situation where you can never win, I think that's a really good clue that you are dealing with someone that does not own up to their own behavior. So if you are in a situation, no matter how hard you try, no matter how fair you try to be, no matter how much you give, someone is giving you the feedback that doesn't feel accurate of, it's always your fault. Why are you always doing this to me? This, you should treat me better. You should, do what I say, or they get angry all the time. So there's like these key things. So if they're using anger, they will be like a bully. They will say things to make us feel afraid. Okay, so that's one dynamic. There's like a guilt dynamic. I think those are probably the two most common. I'll see if another pops into my brain, but the two that I've witnessed quite a bit that I think narcissists really relate to. So anyway, talking with someone or writing it down or just allowing yourself to talk at some point and really think about, because when we talk, it helps us process. When you write it down, it helps you process and start taking notice of the dynamics of how you're feeling when you're dealing with someone that you feel like it's always projected on you. You can't win no matter what you do. Start looking at that. So to expose the narcissist, huge shift in the energy, okay? So it's just like dealing with the bully. So when you tell your friend, several friends, your spouse, whoever it is, and just keep talking about it, it breaks up that fear. Let's say if they're triggering fear, it breaks up the fear response. Because you're going to keep hearing people say, yeah, that doesn't sound right. No way, it can't always be your fault. I mean, we're all imperfect, and we're going to all have moments where, yeah, okay, I messed up right there, but you're going to get some real feedback. You can't just listen to the narcissist because they just want their way. So they just want to drain your energy. They just want to make you feel bad so they feel better about themselves, because they're this bottomless pit of they don't feel good about themselves. They are fear-based and they're selfish. Okay, it's really, they are so afraid, and this does not give any of them an excuse. I'm really sorry. I've seen some very, very abusive narcissists. And I'm sure there's lovely people that are stuck within that pattern as well. But it's not an excuse. Like, people have to really be willing to face their own fears rather than project on other people, because it's often very hurtful. So talking to someone and exposing that, just like with domestic violence or some sort of abuse that tends to be hidden, like sexual abuse, it's really important to express it, to break that fear bubble. And once you start like exposing it, it really helps release that pressure. It's going to give you some tools to realize that there's another way to look at this. So keep talking about it, talk about it, talk about it to yourself, write it down, talk about it to your friends. Just keep getting it out. It's like a poison. And keep getting out, keep talking about it, and the answers will come. So even if we can't figure it out in the moment, the more you express, the more you let that bubble pop of what's being held in that's toxic, you're gonna find solutions. So again, my name is Michelle Love. You are listening to Dynamic Change. And this is a weekly show, and I'm giving psychological insights and mindful techniques, behavioral techniques, emotional techniques, meditation techniques of ways of shifting yourself to release blocks and to have more wellness in your life. And you're listening to KPCA-LP in Petaluma, a live TV radio show, and I'm talking today about freedom from the narcissist. We're breaking it down. Okay, so this gives you some tools of how to identify a narcissist. And then you're going to talk about it to people quite a bit to keep popping that bubble of what is being triggered in you, often fear, often guilt and shame from the childhood. So another way they can express it is through guilt, okay? So let's say you're not dealing with a real volatile narcissist, but so they're going to work off of guilt. So if they're trying to make you feel guilty and tell you constantly how you are harming them, and you notice you just feel bad all the time, you want to look at that and say, I know I'm not a bad person. I know I'm not perfect, but am I constantly accepting the blame from this person? Are they never saying what their part is within our relationship? Are they never saying, oops, I messed up? Is it so you can look at that. And so often guilt, shame, all right? And then you have a real angry narcissist. So these different ways it can be presented, okay? So now what I want to talk about is a really powerful way for you to start getting freedom from that dynamic. Once you've realized, okay, yes, I've been dealing with this narcissist, it's really difficult, it's debilitating, and I'm super stressed out, I'm super drained, I'm super emotional, and help. Because we all deserve freedom. This is really, the narcissists need to work on themselves. They really do. So, first of all, start creating some space. And what I would do is really, if you have a way to not spend time with them, start pulling back. And let them know, I am not available to speak with you until you are not, or you can say until you are calm. Okay, so if you're dealing with an angry narcissist, right, this is like an angry bully, and their goal is to make you afraid. When people are afraid, energetically, what our energy does is we lose energy. Okay, we just kind of, you go into fight or flight, and what happens with our internal energy is you that adrenaline from the fight or flight, and all of that, it really knocks us off our center, and we lose energy. That's why it's so exhausting dealing with someone that is so angry. You lose energy, and these people get off on that. They suck on that energy. They feel powerful when they can pull that energy to them. They feel powerful when they feel like they can control you. So this is really abusive. really awful to deal with. And so you want to get away from them if you can. All right. If you have to endure them, you want to look them straight in the eye and calmly. So you don't want to you want to try not to get afraid. So if you see them clearly, this is what I always tell people, to see that, and I would talk about this with your friends, write about it, try to separate away from the relationship and try to see them as a person. So let's say this is like your cousin, like this is someone you know, or your brother, or whatever, a boyfriend. Try to look at them like from a removed point of view, like if you didn't know them. And try to honestly just look at them as a person. Don't look at them as your cousin or your relative or the boyfriend. Look at them, scrutinize them as a person. And look deep in your mind. I don't mean in person, in your mind. Really, really honestly look at them and say, okay, this person has a lot of issues. This person maybe is an alcoholic. This person is angry like almost all the time, flies off the handle almost all the time. They always feel that they're victim to everything. So like start looking at them, because when you look at someone realistically, you're going to realize that they're just a bully. Like in The Wizard of Oz, the man behind the big curtain, right? He was just some person back there that had this bogus image, right? The boogeyman. So the narcissists are very much like that. If you're dealing with one that's violent, then they can be dangerous, and it's really important to get some safety. If you are dealing with a violent narcissist, I am a self-defense instructor, and so I will go into that mode for you. The verbiage that I teach in my classes to really empower people is very, very, very strong verbiage, very assertive verbiage, where if you can't get away from them in that moment, you could make up an excuse because you want to be safe. Pretend there's nothing going on. If you can, get out of the situation and go file a restraining order. Say, I need to go to the store. Tell them you're going to get something for them because it's all about them. And get out of there and go to the police station. Go call the domestic abuse hotline. But getting out of there is, really the biggest thing you want to do. If it's not a physically threatening thing, then you want to always look them in the eye, try to be calm, and say, I will get a restraining order if you do not control your behavior. I will not talk to you anymore until you are calm. Do I need to get a restraining order, or can you calm down? And you pull in that voice. Practice the voice. Driving in the car again. Practice talking to yourself in the mirror. You can role play with your friends. You want to have a voice that says, this stops now. And they have to believe you. So you start looking them in the eye. I will not communicate with you unless you are calm. I will not communicate with you unless you are respectful. You cannot put me down or treat me this way. And you will not engage with them unless they change that behavior. So that's if you're dealing with someone that is manageable. But I do recommend restraining orders. If you are dealing with someone where you feel like it could become violent, you really want to look at that, right? So if you are dealing with someone that makes you very scared for your well-being, where you can feel fear for your safety, or you feel that in your home, or if you have kids or an animals, and you just, like, you notice that's how intense it is, really consider maybe you do need to, call up the um, authorities, or just go there and talk to them about it. And because that restraining orders are about what makes them justified is if you are afraid of your well-being. Someone's behavior is escalated to the point where you are concerned, you are afraid for your well-being. So if it feels like that, I want you to go do that. And pepper spray is great. Pepper spray is a good one to have on, but really looking at them in the eye and try to see them clearly. Get away from them and then try to look at them clearly. And so, like the man in the Wizard of Oz, right? He was just the boogeyman. He was just the bully. Underneath his facade of I'm all together, it's all about me, and you're here to just kind of make me feel better, no matter what the impact is on you. That's terribly abusive and selfish. Looking at them, and if you can do it separated out, you can see, wow, no, they're toxic. I can see they're really scared. I can see that they're scared of seeing themselves. They constantly project out. They constantly attack other people. Or if they're not, the dangerous sort, then if they're just so scared within themselves that, or feel so bad about themselves, that they want to be catered to on an emotional level. So where they're trying to make you feel guilty. I can't, they say something like, I can't believe you always do this to me. I can't believe you always hurt me this way. I can't believe you are such a hurtful person. Do you know how hard it is to be me? I'm trying to put some humor into it because, wow, dealing with a narcissist is so painful, right? It's not fun. So, but looking at who you're dealing with and try to really see them. Like, what is the overall message they're saying all the time? And what is the effect on me? And if it's only about them and they're getting what they want, never about your emotional well-being or your physical well-being, or if it's only about them, that's how you identify the dynamic. So now what I'm going to talk about is how to set boundaries. We're going to do a guided meditation to protect the part of yourself that they're working in that dynamic, that they are triggering, okay? So creating boundaries is get away. In extreme, dangerous, potentially dangerous situations, and what I mean by potentially is if you are feeling scared, you want to honor that, okay? And no relationship is worth feeling physically scared, like it could become violent. It's not worth it, and there's no love in that, and you can't change people. The narcissists are very stubborn, they're very tunnel vision, and they are choosing that dynamic. This is not something we can just go in there and shift for them. They have to want to change themselves. And if we are enabling them, so this is like with dealing with chemical dependency and alcoholism, if you enable them emotionally, energetically, giving them all of your energy, if you enable them, they will never be uncomfortable enough to want to change anything. And the narcissists don't like to change it anyway, but we are supporting their unhealthy dynamics by surrendering ourselves to them. We are not sacrificial lambs, okay? We are all powerful people that can shift within ourselves and always learn how to find our voice. So you can never help them. It comes from them. They have to get miserable enough to maybe they'll think of changing. It's a rare thing, but you cannot help them. So do not think you can love them out of it. Do not think that if I give every part of myself, maybe someday they'll get better. No, it's better to take care of yourself and pull back. When you take care of yourself and pull back, so this means blocking them. This means, telling other people, this is how I'm getting treated. This is why I decided to do this. Expose the behavior that has a reaction out in the universe. You expose something, it ripples out. So the more we just, and it releases, it does something to release your own pain. So your own triggers, the more you release something like that, it heals the hidden quality of guilt and shame that comes from abuse as a kid. There's this quality of it being hidden. So the more we expose it for ourselves and talk about our feelings, it heals it. And it releases the energetic power that it has. Okay? So you talk about it, you're going to block them, you're going to take space, you can leave town if you can, do anything you can to get away from it. And so blocking them, talking to them in a way where you look them in the eye calmly and you say, you will not talk to me this way. I will not be your friend. I will not talk with you. I will not engage with you at all because of the way you're acting. I want you to lower your voice. I want you to say kind things. Otherwise, you are not allowed in my life, in my space. And you just constantly say that, And I tell you, they really are bullies. The only ones you really have to be real careful with are the ones that could, unfortunately act out in a physical way, right? But a lot of them are actually just bullies. And it's like calling them on their bluff, standing up against the bully in the playground. When you start talking to them that way, they back down. But you have to be strong. You have to mean it. I always recommend martial arts. Do martial arts. I always recommend, doing something physical like that. Something that feels, or you can even just sports sometimes give you that, that strength of just doing something intense that allows you to get in touch with your inner strength. So all those things are very helpful. Okay, so setting boundaries, constantly talking to them about that. Like they don't even get to talk, right? So that means you have to aggressively control the situation. I teach this in self-defense. When you're dealing with someone that is a bully like that, they're aggressively bullying you. The narcissist is going to try to be faster and control the situation. So what you got to do is anticipate how they are before it happens and call them out even before it happens. I do not want you to blame me for this situation. I don't appreciate what you did. You have to turn it on them. So the narcissist never wants to be seen. So if we turn it on them, you have to call out their behavior. That's part of popping the bubble of the control dynamic there. You have to call them out. It's not about you. And you tell them, this is not about me. You did this behavior. You chose this behavior. This is why I'm not talking to you. This is because you did this. And you say it over and over and over. So practice it. So it's being really stubborn. I mean, so assertive where you're like, I said no. And say it again. I said no. I said no. No, never again. No. The way you're behaving. I mean, you gotta really practice it and really anticipate it before it happens. Really start trying to anticipate because they get over on people because they're so aggressive. So we have to be aggressively assertive and protective of ourselves. So now, again, you're listening to Michelle Love. The show is Dynamic Change. I am talking about freedom from the narcissist. I am so glad to talk about it. And I look forward to any freedom I can help anyone find. And this is a weekly show. I upload it to my YouTube station, Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness. And if you want more information on me, you can go to my website, dynamicchangewellness.com, to see all the things that I provide to empower people. And you are listening to KPCA LP in Petaluma. And so now I want to talk about how to create some mindful techniques for protecting the part of yourself that is getting triggered. So think about, I talk a lot about journaling, think about your childhood. This always goes back to the childhood, where your issues form, right? And we all have them, nothing wrong with it, no shame in that, but looking at it and say, okay, this reminds me of when I was 9 years old. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. I'm making something up. When I was 9 years old, this happened, and I felt really what the impact was from this scenario is like maybe they were bullied in school a lot, and say that whole year in school I was bullied when I was 9 years old. This is a made-up scenario. Let's say, Lisa, for example. I'm going to make this up. This imaginary name. Lisa, when she was 9 years old, the whole year, she was horrifically bullied. And so what she got from that was that she was, not good enough, not likable or lovable. She just felt like no one ever liked her, that she just felt so bad about herself. And so the extreme case, I'm talking about something like an extreme case of bullying. So maybe when they grow up, they're looking for validation. Maybe they're like, I'm trying to find someone that will appreciate me or see me, or if I try really, really, really hard, will love me. So if Lisa believed, okay, everyone, they put me down some big ways, some bad stuff happened that year, and so now I don't feel lovable. So there is this wound, right, that gets triggered where they just don't feel worthy of good treatment. Okay, so then a narcissist can see that. It's terrible. They're like bloodhounds. They just they sniff it out, right? And they find it, and they're just like, wow, that person is vulnerable. They look for the vulnerability. Someone it'll work on, okay, which is like awful. But they will look at that and say, oh, I can tell, Lisa doesn't feel good about themselves, and she's kind of overly eager, looking for that validation. And they're like, I can do something with that. And I hate to say it, but the narcissist, I think it's a very, especially the very mean ones, it's a very deliberate, thought out process. They are motivated. They are strategizing. They are so focused on them in a selfish way that it doesn't matter. No one else, even their well-being, is even considered. So the really, really, really mean ones, like they are really looking to they're almost like a con artist, right? They're looking at what can I get out of this situation, to what's going to work on them. So if we think about that kind of mentality, which is gross, I'm sorry, but we need to understand sometimes what you're dealing with. So if you are dealing with someone that's really a bad person and a narcissist and really abusive, they're looking at how they can manipulate someone. They're looking at where do they look weak, and how can I manipulate them through that weakness. And that's awful, I'm sorry, but sometimes things have to be said, and exposing these kind of patterns is important. So we want to heal and protect the parts of us that we feel could be vulnerable, because there's nothing wrong with having these triggers most everyone grows up with something that results in this kind of wounding, right? Okay, so for Lisa, my imaginary person, we're going to do a guided meditation, and Lisa recognizes her 9-year-old went through some horrific bullying, like really bad bullying for a whole year when they were 9 years old. And so that inner child, that age of themselves, is still carrying that wound. So the inner child gets, when something happens, it kind of gets stuck in that experience and that part of ourself. So it's like a younger part of yourself is still running that particular tape in their head, right? That belief. And so it goes back to that time period. You have to like go back to working with that age of yourself. Okay, so we're gonna take some deep breaths. Do this with me now. This guided meditation. You can put your palms up on your legs. You can close your eyes if you want. Have a big glass of water. Take a big drink of water to encourage deep breathing. When you're ready, you're gonna inhale and you're gonna exhale. Now you're gonna inhale as deeply as you can. Hold it for a second and then exhale fully. Again, inhale. Exhale fully. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. So I'm going to have Lisa. We're going to see what resonates with Lisa. Some people are spiritual. Some people are more mental, how they consider these things, using just mindful techniques. Some people want to engage with their energy. So whatever works for you, I'm going to ask Lisa. Let's say Lisa is very spiritual. Say, okay, Lisa, if you believe in angels, ask your angel to come in. If you're really religious, you could ask like Mother Mary, whatever you want. Or if you're not religious, you can just say, I believe in energy, universal energy. Put a pyramid of white light around you, something that creates a protective barrier. Sometimes it's like, oh, my mother died and she was really spiritual. She was really religious, and I could feel when she died that she watches over me. Ask her, say, hey, can you watch over me here? If you can protect me at all, just give me some feeling of some safety. Or you can just imagine in your mind that you create a safe space, but you have to give it some kind of containment. So I recommend you can do like a pyramid of white light, so you're looking at it energetically, something to seal you off, okay? And or you can build like a fire, like a bonfire, and see that as giving you some insulation to negativity. So we're creating some space. And then you can also bring in, if you like animals in your mind, say, imagine my dog here's with me, or maybe a tiger, but bring in some things, so you're bringing this in for the 9-year-old, okay? You're creating a space, a safe space for your 9-year-old emotional self. So whatever you feel she needs, okay, she wants to sit in front of the fire that's cozy, that feels protective, feels strong, or animals, surround her with animals, or angels, I like angels, surround her with angels. She feels safe at the beach, then put her at the beach and say, okay, we're going to sit at the beach, and you're sitting with her, but you're creating what she needs, okay? Or she always felt safe when grandma was there, then tell her, we're going to talk to grandma on the other side, she passed, right? Do whatever works for you. So whatever works for you, but start creating some safe feeling, okay? The fuzzy blanket helps her. She had a favorite teddy bear or whatever. She had a best friend. Imagine that friend there with you, but she has support and protection. So insulation is important. Create a barrier in some way where just only good can be inside that bubble, okay? So we've done that for her. And you're going to talk to her. So you dialogue with her and you tell her it wasn't okay that you were bullied. None of that stuff that they did was true. It was all a lie. They were just being mean. Okay? So talk to her realistically, like as an adult. You're the mom, you're the parent. This is, break it down for them. This is what really happened. They were really mean and really hurtful. None of it was true, but it was really hurtful. And what happened was you believed it was your fault, or you weren't lovable, or you were, everything's wrong with you. That's what happened. What you kind of bought into, which wasn't true. And it's not your fault for believing that in that moment. It was just overwhelming. And it was so hurtful, and it was a delicate part of your development, right? 9-year-old's a vulnerable age. You're kind of moving into puberty. It could have been really complicated. So dialoguing with your younger self like a parent, and really let her know it's not their fault. Every day I'm going to work on taking care of us. So you got to talk to her how you're going to change, so she can feel safe. That maybe every day you're going to make a list of how wonderful she is and what the truth is. And she has to believe you. So you have to be strong for yourself. Think and feel, communicate with your inner self with conviction. You have to be believable. So I want you to be believable. I want you to really mean it. I want you to be like, I'm going to heal this. So you really have to be strong with yourself until you tell her, I love you. This is the truth. You've always been wonderful. You've always been kind. You're really sensitive, and that's how the bullying really affected you so severely, is you're a very sensitive person. And that's a good trait. And you're creative and artistic and kind, and you have a big heart. That's true. You're intelligent, you're lovely. And what they said was a lie. And you got to keep communicating to your inner self until they believe you. Okay? So you got to really talk to them. And maybe you imagine holding them. Maybe they get to sit in your lap. Maybe they get to pet the tiger. Maybe they can feel grandma there. Maybe they feel the sand of the ocean. Maybe you had the sun out so they could have a warm day because they loved it when the sun was out at the ocean. Create something real for them, okay? And you can give a visualization. Let's imagine. So if let's say Lisa created her scenario for the beach. They're at the beach. She sees this big shell in front of her on the beach, and she puts in all of the yucky feelings that resulted from the things the kids said or whoever was bullying her. We're going to put it all in the seashell. Tell her, just imagine if you can emotionally throw up, bleh, it all goes into the seashell. And tell her, just push it out. You can push it out with your breath. You can see it as sludge that comes out of your body. You can do it. A lot of times I like to imagine water coming in through the top of the head, going in through the body and washing it out. It just comes out of the hands, out of the feet, and goes put it all into the shell. And then we're going to gently push that shell into the ocean, and the ocean is going to be so loving and kind, and just let that be washed away and be recycled into something good. So, really give her something new, tell her what the truth is, and then give her the new plan. So the new plan is going to be, okay, from now on, I'm not going to have people in our lives that are bullying us, okay, or making us feel bad about ourselves. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to disengage from them. I'm going to start blocking them. I'm going to, talk to my friends about it so I realize what's going on. Maybe I'll go get some therapy. But you got to give her a plan. And you got to tell her, with this plan, I'm going to aggressively take care of ourselves. And I mean aggressively. So the thing is, you want to become so protective of that part of yourself. So if you can separate it out, just see them as a person. Again, this is the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. If you have not seen that, if you're younger, watch it. Okay? I know the new Wizard of Oz came out. I'm sure there's something parallel to that, right? I didn't see it. But, see that, where there's somebody that's they're not really this big, awe-inspiring, scary person, but they pretend to be. So see who they really are as a person and say, okay, I'm not going to see them as my boyfriend or my, friend or this cousin or whoever it is. I'm going to see it as just a person that has a lot of bravado, a person that's trying to control other people so they feel better about themselves, a person that likes to drain my energy, a person that wants to control me with their anger, this person that makes me feel bad about myself all the time so they can get what they want from me. So see them clearly, so you separate it out, and a lot of times I like to imagine fire between me and that person that kind of breaks up all of the bad energy between us. Okay? And then you look at your inner child and you just fiercely, I mean fiercely like a tiger, protect her every day. Every day you focus on that. I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to focus on it. And you see her being protected, and that is your focus, not that person. Your focus is protecting them and creating boundaries with them constantly and rehearsing how you're going to communicate. You tell her, I'm going to practice every day in the mirror for 5 minutes how to say things like, I will not talk with you unless you're calm. I will not talk with you unless you are saying kind things. I will not go anywhere with you and spend time with you because all you want to do is argue with me. All you want to do is say it's my fault. And constantly looking that person in the eye, constantly confronting it, constantly telling other people. Okay, so it becomes a mission of aggressively focusing on protecting yourself. So you're shifting your focus. You're not concerned about the narcissist. They can do whatever their trip is, but it's not going to be on you anymore. So you have to really switch your focus. So after you focus in with her, you stay present with her, you communicate this to her, and you let her feel your fierce protection you feel for her. And I mean fierce. I want you to be fierce, okay? I want you to really work on pulling up the fierce so she feels it, okay? And you're really there for her. And focus on it every day. And then maybe just sit with her, hold her, tell her how wonderful she is, tell her how you're going to start these new patterns of looking for nice people and be very assertive with people that make it all about themselves and make you feel bad. Okay? So there's some techniques for that. I'm going to read a commercial now. An announcement for KPCALP in Petaluma. This is one of the shows that they have here for the radio station. It's called The Sports Roost. It's on Thursdays from 3 to 4 p.m., hosted by Harry Lewis. Petaluma has a rich sports history along with active sporting events and fascinating personalities. Harry brings local sports alive with an eclectic mix of current events and stories from the past, inviting guests into the Roost for the show from all forms of sport and interviews with athletes who grew up in Petaluma or have come here to call it home. Well, that sounds, for all you sports enthusiasts, that sounds fantastic. So again, my name is Michelle Love. You have been listening to Dynamic Change. This show focuses on psychological techniques and mindful techniques, guided meditation techniques to have more wellness in your life. And today we have talked about freedom from the narcissist, freedom for all. And I hope it has empowered you. I appreciate you listening. You can go to my YouTube channel, Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness, to listen to future shows. Thank you so much.